we're going to, at the end, when we watch these video clips, I should start out by saying we are focusing on transition from defending. So we've been defending and we've won the ball back and now we are attacking. So we're going to look at that. There is some variation in this in terms of how coaches and teams approach what happens after they win the ball, and that's fine. Some coaches may pop in during this and kind of add their 2 cents in terms of what they look for as a coach or what they ask their teams to look for. So be prepared for that, especially if it's your coach, you should probably really pay attention. But even if it's not, you should probably pay attention and maybe get some other ideas about how they do things. And sometimes it might be a case of coaches do things very, very similarly, but the way they say it might strike a chord with you a little bit differently. So it's important that you listen, because something that somebody says, might kind of connect with you a little bit more than maybe the way I say it, or maybe even your coach says it, and that's fine. I know for me as a coach, I've definitely had players go into different situations and talk to a coach, and something I've told them time after time after time after time, another coach says in a different way, and they're like, "Oh, that's genius, coach. How come you never told me to do that?" So definitely listen to what other coaches have to add. Coaches, if you want to jump in, just go ahead and unmute yourselves. I think Nate gave you that capability. Just say, "Hey," Jess, you'll kind of be monitoring the chat, so if you want to give us a heads up, or if I keep rambling and you can't interrupt me, then just shout at me. All right. I'll do a better job than when I did the 0-5s and Sid interrupted me, and I didn't realize it was Sid, but I was a player. So anyway, so when we watch these clips, I want you to think about what we would do in training. All right. So at the end, there's going to be a little slide, and it's going to be what would your training priorities be based on the video that you just watched. And remember, we don't always work on in training what we aren't good at. Sometimes we do, but then sometimes we're really good at something and we want to make sure that we continue to be good at it, or maybe we make it even a little bit better than it already is. So it's not about looking at what is going wrong necessarily in the video. It's also about looking at what is going well, and that we want to make sure that we continue to do that thing well, or maybe we can find like 1 or 2 ways to make it just a little bit better. So at the end, that'll be it. If you want to put those ideas into chat, go ahead. If you want to be really brave and unmute yourself and go for it, then absolutely do that. Coaches, if you want to make this part of something that you have your players do, by all means. So players, you might want to do this anyway, because maybe your coaches will ask you for this. I know for the 04 girls, they have to give a little reflection on today's webinar, and this will be their reflection. So they've got it easy today compared to last week when they had to do a reflection, when it was whatever they got out of it. Today it's going to be simple. Based on the videos, what would your training priorities be for the next couple weeks in this phase of the game? All right. So anyway, I'll stop yapping and I'll get to it. Let me optimize this for video, and let's rock and roll. Maybe. There we go. All right. So let's start again with game principles like we always do. 3 phases: progress the ball toward the goal, penetrate, all right, get behind the opponent, and then create opportunities to score goals. We're usually doing one of those 3 things. All right. So where is Sam the man? Yeah, Sam's always got the comments, right? So anyway, so our game principles, basic game principle: progress the ball, penetrate, create goal scoring chances. So that's our main focus for when we have the ball. All right. Maybe I think there we go. So game phases, so our initiation phase, this is when we establish the attack to create or exploit space to go forward. One thing to kind of think about in this is our initiate. When we think about this, start the attack phase, sometimes we have a tendency to think about building out of the back. That is an initiation phase. It is one phase of the initiation phase, but what if we win the ball inside our opponent's penalty area? They have the ball and we win it back off, but we are now initiating an attack. So again, for me, this is why transitions are kind of a gray area, and why for me the principles kind of stay relatively the same. I don't have really separate principles for transition. They're the same as they would be for the attack. But our initiation phase is when we win the ball back, or when we gain possession of the ball, and we start the attack. How that looks is going to depend on where we are on the field, all right, and what the context is. Is it in the run of play? Is it a set piece? Is it a restart from a goal kick throw, and that sort of thing. And we want to build and retain, all right, so we want to arrive in advantageous areas. So if we are building from the back, we want to get into the middle part of the field or skip the middle part of the field and arrive in the attacking third of the field. If we win the ball in our opponent's half of the field out wide near the corner flag or the touchline, then we want to build it so that we get in front of their goal, all right, or closer. But again, if we go back a couple weeks to the creating goal scoring chances, can we arrive in one of those 5 areas of the field where goals tend to be created more than any other area? All right, and then we want to unbalance and finish. So we can get the ball into those areas, but if the defenders are organized, we still have to find a way to get through them. So we still have that unbalance and finish phase that we need to find. All right, so we initiate it, we build, retain, find ways to get into the areas that are most dangerous or more dangerous than where we were, and then we want to make sure that we find ways to unbalance and open up the attacking team and finish the chances that we were able to create. So attacking transition strategy. We need to organize and create options to progress the ball forward with control. That might be one player, that might be multiple players. But if we win the ball and we don't have anybody to play forward to, that's kind of a problem. So we need that basic organization of somebody offering us a way to get forward. All right. We want to force defenders to make decisions. So perhaps if I win the ball and my teammate sprints in behind and the defender who's closest to us follows that teammate, all right, I've made that defender make a decision. That defender decided to track the run of my teammate, and that leaves me free to continue to dribble the ball. So we want to force defenders always to make decisions. Are they going to defend the space in front of them? Are they going to defend the space behind them? Are they going to man mark or direct mark a player, or are they going to zonally mark? Are they going to force us inside, or are they going to force us outside? So we want to make the defenders make decisions, all right? And then we need the movement of players to create and exploit open space, all right? Kind of related to the organization part, all right? But the players need to continue to move, all right, to make sure that we create and then exploit space, all right? Perhaps that player makes the run in behind, and then we can't find that pass in behind, so now that player turns and checks back for the ball and asks for it at his or her feet. So that would be a simplified example building off of that very first example I gave with the player running in behind. We want to create and exploit superiorities, meaning we want to create numbers up. We want to find our fastest player against their slowest player, or our best dribbler against their weakest defender, that sort of thing. I heard a fancy phrase this week. We want to find socio-affective superiorities. All right, I'll say that again, socio-affective superiorities. What that means is you have a really good understanding with the players on the field that are close to you. And we all have that, right? There's players we've played with for a long time, and you just know exactly what they're going to do in a situation, right? Or maybe it's just a player who you've always understood. Like maybe you've not played with that player for very long, but they've joined your team, or you've joined their team, and it's just somebody you like understand how to play with right away. So that might be something where you've got 2 players who play really, really well together, and they're going to try to combine to beat a defender. Or I just know, I don't even have to think very much. I don't have to look, because I know this player is in this position and this is what he or she likes to do with the ball. So all I've got to do is provide the ball to them in that way, and they'll take care of the rest. So that's another kind of superiority, is like you just have a really good understanding with players and what they're going to do. All right. And then intentional, purposeful action. Again, we don't want to just get the ball and whack it up the field toward the goal and like chase it down and hope something good happens. So whatever we end up doing, whether we attack it quickly, all right, and get in behind them, or whether we keep and retain the ball, we want to make sure that it's intentional and purposeful and not just random and by chance. So these are examples of team objectives, all right? So these are 2 different ways of looking at it. So this is not necessarily, these are not set in stone. You'll see there's some similarities between them. But again, this is when I talked about, listening to how people say things. Something might click one way more than another way. And so this is just an example of 2 different teams and kind of how they break down their phase, or what their objectives once they've won the ball back. So immediate progression, all right? So they want to play forward with control as quickly as possible, all right? that means they might dribble. All right, so they might take advantage of space. All right, on the dribble if no teammates are in a bit better position forward. So if they can't immediately progress it forward with a pass to a teammate who is closer to the goal, and they have space to dribble, then their next option is to dribble. All right, if they can't do that, they want to combine. So they want to break pressure or find a bigger space with a quick pass to escape, probably to a player who can do one of these other two things. All right, and then they want to create. So they want to beat opponents 1v1, or they want to create a numerical advantage. All right, so this is kind of how they look at what their team objectives are once they win the ball back. All right, so when we look at these clips again, kind of think about these, like, what is this team doing? Are they immediately progressing? Are they using the dribble to attack the space? Are they combining to get out of pressure, or playing shorter passes to find a player to play forward to, or to find a player who can dribble and attack the space? Or are they creating? So another example of a team, this one obviously I didn't include animations, but score. If I win the ball, can I score? Simple. All right. So can I attack the space and find a way to create a shot? Maybe I have a shot immediately available to me, or maybe I have to dribble. All right. So you saw the first example. It was more about the first option is pass. This one is about again, similar, but a little bit different. If you can score, score. All right. I guess if you win the ball back by your own end line, by the goal you're defending, and you can go coast to coast like a basketball player and dribble all the way up the field, then hey, go for it. The second one is, can we play it forward to a penetrating pass? All right. Or can we combine with a teammate to penetrate behind? Or can we dribble to penetrate, all right, behind or between defenders? All right. So again, similar to what that on the previous page, can we dribble? Their second thing was dribble. Dribbling is included in this, but then there are also other ways to go forward. If they can't go forward, can they circulate it? All right. Can they pass to a teammate who can do one or two? Can they pass to a teammate who can score, or can they pass to a teammate who can play forward, either with a pass or on the dribble? All right. So if they can't do that, can they pass to a teammate who can circulate the ball, right, and then find somebody who can score or play it forward? All right. So just a little bit. So this one and the third one, it's find somebody who can immediately do one or two. Retain is find a player who can circulate it and then go one or two. All right. So usually, if you think about it, those are pretty much all of our options when we have the ball, when we win it back. So again, these are just two examples of how teams kind of organize that moment when they won the ball, and giving some priorities and some clarity of action or interaction to their players.
Hey, Joe, can I chime in?
Just gotta check the chat. Sam, the man, of course. We should just give Sam we should unmute him and let him talk. See what he has to say. Maybe we'll try that next week. Could be dangerous.
Hey, Joe, can you
team
go
tasks.
back?
All right. Optimal occupation of space vertically and horizontally. So can we organize and create space for ourselves? Can we get some triangulation of support for the ball carrier? All right. So diagonal passing. All right. That'll be the player task. And then can we create exploit space behind, between, or the blind side? Again, if we want to go forward quickly, all right, you saw in those two objectives is, can we score pretty quickly, or can we create an opportunity to score quickly? So we definitely need players who are going to go behind and between defenders to do that. If we just play in front of their team, their defending block all day, we're not really going to be able to transition very quickly to create goal scoring chances. So more team tasks: circulate the ball to penetrate through, around, or over an opponent. So if we can't go directly forward, can we keep it and find players who can find a way to penetrate with a pass or on the dribble? Can we create and exploit free player? Can we create numbers up, basically? All right. So can we find that player, all right, who does have more time and space, or who is not being marked, or who is in an area of the field where there are fewer defenders? Can we create and exploit that opportunity? And then can we arrive with control into advanced attacking areas? Again, those 5 areas that we looked at in particular, can we get the ball into those 5 areas where we know we have a higher percentage of goals are created and scored? So then we look at the player task, diagonal passing option. So we want to create triangulation. In order to do that, players need to move into diagonal positions to support the ball carrier, providing width, length, and depth. All right. Again, that also ties into optimal occupation of space with length, and depth, so that we can play where we need to go in order to get the ball forward. Occupation of movement into free space. All right, so we get that diagonal movement. We create those diagonal lines of passing, but perhaps there's no good passing lanes, or perhaps we are marked by a defender. And so we have to, if we're occupying it, there's no good passing lane, then we're going to have to move into those spaces that are free. Right, again, preferably behind, between, or off the shoulder of a defender so they cannot see us. All right, then we want to eliminate defenders as quickly as possible when 1v1 duels. All right, can we bypass as many defenders as possible as quickly as possible? Meaning there's less defenders closer to their goal, making it easier for us to score, in theory anyway. And then we need to anticipate action. All right, prepare for what's going to happen next. All right, so we've won the ball. I'm going to make the run in behind. I'm going to anticipate where that pass is most likely to arrive. All right, and when it arrives there, this is my idea. I'm going to take my first touch inside to attack closer to a more straight-on angle to goal. All right, or I'm going to receive the ball at my foot and I'm going to open up and take my first touch beyond this defender. Or I'm going to receive it and I'm going to lay it off immediately because this defender is closing me down. Just a couple examples. There's all kinds of ideas or examples that we could use. We just want to make sure that we're thinking ahead a little bit. Or maybe we've won the ball and that player is under, your teammate's under immediate pressure. Maybe I shouldn't make that run in behind because we might lose it. And if I make that run too early, now I'm not close by to help defend if he or she actually doesn't end up with possession of the ball. So just thinking ahead a little bit. More player tasks, body orientation to play forward when receiving it if we can. All right, we have our eyes up so that we can identify who has the ball, where the space is available, where my teammates are, and where opponents are. All right, hopefully we don't have to look to find out where the goal is. If we know where we are on the field, we should have a pretty good idea because the goal does not move very often. So we might need to dribble to escape or provoke pressure when necessarily. All right, and we need to be able to control the ball with all surfaces from a variety of heights and distances and movements. Right. So we're going to now to looking at some of the clips here. All right. Some of the clips have some questions. If you want to pop it in the chat, you can certainly do that. Oh, Jesse had a question. Jesse, what was your question? Sorry, Jesse, you just got to shout at me. We're close enough now that you can just yell at me and tell me to shut up. So, what's up, Jesse?
Is your mic? Can you hear me?
Jesse?
Yeah.
Do I have to unmute you?
No. I think you have your computer muted.
What's the deal? Let me see.
Can anybody else? I'm sure anybody else hear me?
Jesse, I can't hear you. Are you talking, Jesse?
Jesse, I can hear you. I don't think Joe. Joe, do you have your volume up?
I think it's Joe. Joe, your speakers might be muted or turned too far down. All right, cool. Lots of people can. So I was just going to comment on one thing: how did the thirds of the field might influence those decisions. One of the graphics you had showed, can we go forward? Can I play to a teammate that could potentially go forward? Is the objective to circulate the ball or just maintain possession? Yeah, they can all hear me.
You're muted, Joaquin.
Yes, I can hear Jesse, and I can hear you as well, Joe.
I can't hear anybody.
So one thing that I've talked to my teams about, just based on our style of how we want to play, like in our defensive third, if we win it, we might prioritize, like, can we dribble? Can we start the counter? Can we get out? Simply because there might be a ton of space. If the opponent committed a lot of numbers forward, we're in our own defensive third, we win the ball. There may not be someone to play right away for a scoring chance, but if I get out on the dribble, I can start that counter. So a lot of times we talk about transitioning from defending to attacking in our own half. Here are some things we might want to do. So trigger the counter or just maintain possession to get us out. In the opposing half or final third, we want to break teams down. So, I think it depends on the moment. I mean, if it's obvious you can go to goal, go. If you can't, sometimes I ask the team, hey, maybe it's better, let's just maintain possession, or let's play a pass that can at least break the pressure, and then we can circulate it again and then find their goal. So I always ask teams to find a good balance between, we're in our opponent's half, we're in front of their goal. We, let's say we won it back. you know, if we keep going to goal all the time and we aren't very successful, then maybe we circulate it. So I always say when we win it back in our opponent's half, we need to have a forward run, which Joe covered. We need to have an option beside, so left or right, an outlet pass, and we should have a negative pass. So I should have 3. So can I go forward? Can I just break pressure, keep it, let's stay in their half? Or do we just need to kind of, let's just maintain, let's go back, and let's kind of try again. So it's a little bit of a balancing act. How aggressive do you want to be in that final third? You know, or is it better to just hang on to it and not create another turnover? So there's a little bit more like rhythm to the game. So Joe, I'll turn it back over to you if you can hear me.
Yeah, actually, I had to leave to get it to work. I don't know what was wrong, so I just got back in and was made up. Whatever Jesse said was gold. All right,
I'm gonna type it out. Apparently, I was glitching a little bit. So Joe, I was saying in our own half, when we win it back and we transition to attack, it might look a certain way. Versus in the opposing half, we win it back. Sometimes we're going to circulate it versus always trying to go. But it just depends on the team's principles and how they want to play.
Yeah.
So go for it. I was glitching, so I'll type it. I'll let you take over.
Yeah, apparently Sam screamed that you were glitching. So, you know, all caps and yelling, Sam, just saying. All right. Just saying. Anyway, all right, so we're back here. Let me share my screen again and optimize. So anybody else was yelling at me, I apologize. I don't know what was wrong with my sound, but here we are. So here we go. We'll start looking at the clips. All right, so this is the 05s. So we've done this before. We looked at the 05s last week. We looked at them when we looked at attacking to defending transition. We're looking at them again. They provide us with a lot of good clips and some things to think about. So right now they are defending the goal kick. All right. There we go. So right there, you see they create a 2v1 situation. That defender has to choose. Is she going to step to the ball? She does. So now we play it to a player at the top of the box who's 1v1 against the defender. All right. A couple moves to create a shot. All right. So she dribbles to try to penetrate or beat a defender. But we start here with this 2v1 situation. We're forcing the defender right here to make a choice. She can mark this player and give the player with the ball time and space to go forward, or she can try to step and put pressure on the ball. She steps and puts pressure on the ball. This player here, the 9, sees that there's a good passing lane into her, so you see she's ready to receive the ball and play. All right, and then once we find her, she gets faced up to goal pretty quickly. All right, maybe could get faced up a little bit more so she has better access to go to her right side, but that's a little bit nitpicky. But again, it's one of those things. It's good right now. Maybe we could make it better just a little bit, but it's not. It's overall it's good. All right, and so she's matched up here 1v1, couple cutbacks. All right, gets her shot off and scores a goal. All right, so just initially that very direct. Can we score a goal right away? All right, how can we, or can I get the ball to a player who can score a goal? So good mentality there. From the 05s in that clip. So we go here. Now they're defending at the complete opposite end of the field. So at first they were defending by the goal they were attacking. Now they are defending a corner kick. So the opponent plays it short. Could step in there to win the ball. We find the 9. Again, you notice the body shape of that 9. She's receiving the ball and she's immediately able to start progressing the ball forward on the dribble. All right. So it's good stuff from her. Again, decides to take the player on. All right. So now we get into a decision. All right. We have to look at what are our options. So I'm going to give you, if you want to put it in chat, that's fine. I don't know that we'll necessarily be able to respond, or maybe Jesse or Nate or Joaquin can respond to you. But it's a decision time. So what are her options? All right, again, you don't have to put this into chat. Just right now, reflect. I'll give you about 10, 15 seconds to think about it. And what are her legitimate options? And remember what we want to do. All right, we want to try to score a goal. If we can't score a goal, all right, we want to find a way to give the ball to a player who can score a goal. And if we can't do that, we want to find a player who can help us keep possession so that we can maybe then find a third player who can potentially score a goal. So just take a couple seconds here and think about her options. If we go all the way back to the beginning of our webinar, we talked about your key qualities, your strengths as a player. That's something you should be really thinking about, what your strengths are as a player. You know, does she have the speed to continue to dribble? All right, there's a player out here who's an option, but is she really available for the type of pass? You know, what direction would this player's pass have to go because of the pressure of the player behind her? All right, these are all things to think about. All right. So we see we end up losing possession. I think one of the things to think about when we are in these counter-attacking moments or these transition moments from defending to attacking is, yes, we would love to score a goal. Yes, we would love to create an opportunity to score a goal, all right, at the very least. But sometimes you see where they came from. They were all the way down the other end of the field defending a corner kick, and they progressed the ball 80 yards down the field. So they flipped the field, as I like to say. Can we flip the field when we're defending? Can we flip it and end up playing in our attacking half of the field? So maybe at that point, they just have to say, hey, we did a really good job of flipping the field and getting it from by the goal we're defending to the goal we're attacking. Maybe now we should be thinking about, you know what, instead of transitioning and counterattacking, maybe it's time to kind of transition to an organized possession phase. See if we can just keep it and build some numbers here. All right. So, so again, this is just something to think about in the moment. A great job by the 05s, all right, of transitioning, getting the ball from away from the goal they're defending and much closer to the goal they're attacking. All right. So again, defending in their own half. All right, few passes. There's the ball right there, the little circle, and it's going towards the 9. So if we think about the ideas that we talked about in team objectives, can we get the ball forward, all right, to penetrate quickly, all right, or can we can we score? Okay, we can't score in this instance when we won the ball back here. So can we get it to a player who might be able to score or penetrate? All right, so if we think about it, this ball, early ball in, the 9 is available. All right, but maybe it's a case of, we talked about anticipating action. So we see this pass, it happens kind of quickly, all right, but you see that the 9 is standing, all right, she's available, we see this ball going, all right, and she's standing and waiting. It's only after the ball is played, it's in the air, she's still not really moving too quickly. And now she starts to go. Okay, there was a little error from the opponent. All right, now she's taken off. Now she's done a good job of penetrating. All right, got the ball. We were defending in our own half, about 30, 35 yards from our own goal, and now all of a sudden we're about 25, 30 yards away from the opponent's goal. So we flipped the field pretty quickly. All right, so we've done a good job there. So again, we go back. Could the 9 maybe have had more options if she was moving or anticipating that a little bit earlier? Maybe. All right. Have they still done a good job? Yeah, absolutely they have. All right, but you see the situation. All right, she's dribbling, she's penetrated. It's 1v2. All right, so again, this comes down to key qualities. We're going to see here. We look at this. If we froze this picture, we might say, maybe you shouldn't keep dribbling. All right, you're outnumbered. All right, so we'll take a look here and see what happens. All right, but maybe she's quick. Maybe she's a good dribbler. I know I've got players on the 04 team who I definitely would say, hey, keep going in this situation. All right, you see she does beat the defenders. All right, now, I mean, she does run into a problem. In that first, she was fouled. All right, but second, right here, so she's able to beat the defenders in the location. She's out wide. So not only is she going to have to beat the defenders, but then she's going to have to find a way to get central in front of goal or at least into a better scoring position. So if we think last week or 2 weeks ago about creating goal scoring chances, this falls outside of the golden zone. And it really is just on the edge of that assist zone. All right. So the problem for her being in the assist zone is that, I mean, if you take a look at it, I'm sure you can probably answer this on your own, but there's no one to provide an assist to. So again, not the world's worst decision. We just think about, hey, we've done a really good job flipping the field here, all right? But now all of a sudden we end up with no options in the middle. So should that have been a PK? Yeah, probably. I don't know, Minnesota ref, so who knows? All right, there is a good supporting run from the outside. So when she does get tripped there, her teammate out wide is able to pick up the ball, but again, doesn't really have anybody to go for. So that might be an instance where we've gone from that fast attack or that counter attack situation. We have to recognize, hey, there's really not any good options on, but we have done a great job of establishing a better position on the field. All right, maybe we're in the midst of creating some more numbers up, so we have to do a better job of getting some numbers up and recognizing, hey, let's just use the players around us, all right, and enjoy having possession closer to their goal and kind of end this phase where we're counterattacking.
Hey, Joe.
Yes.
So one thing I would just say, just to players, it's like that might happen a couple times where you're going to get a few moments to transition out and through the thirds quickly, like on the dribble. Just as a player, after that play breaks down, quickly have a look. It's like, hey, I was by myself. I didn't quite have help. I might have had other teammates, and just factor that into your decision for the next time. So like, that's fine. Give it a try. Go take them on and see if you can use your speed to get in. But she's so fast, her teammates they're not there to help. So maybe the next time, based on this moment, the next time, pull that thing back, involve other teammates, and then see if that gives you a better outcome. Because it won't be right or perfect the first time. You just got to learn from each and every moment. The opposing team tends to really shift over, leaving a ton of space exposed. So use that information to your advantage for the next opportunity. So as players, we should always be trying to break down that moment because it's going to happen again. And can we do better on the next one? All right, that's all I got, Joe.
All right, yeah, and some of it becomes like just how we think about things. So I try to think more like a player sometimes. Like as coaches, sometimes we come up with big words and fancy phrases that sound really good and smart. But like at the end of the day, if you're a 12, 13, 14, 15, even a 17, 18, 19-year-old player, you're looking at going, what the heck did he just say? And that's not a place where as coaches. So like that second team objective for transition, that was mine. And I broke it down into tasks. Like it matched the first one pretty well because the first one is more about some principles. And I just kind of break mine down into tasks. So it's a hierarchy of decisions. Can you go score a goal? So right now we ask this player, hey, can you go score a goal? If your answer is yes, then absolutely, you should take the player on in this position. If you can get around the corner and then attack the goal, go for it, okay? If you can't, all right, are you going to be able to find a teammate who can, all right? So is that going to be possible? Well, no, because there's no teammates ahead of her. Okay, so now can I give it to a teammate who can then maybe give it to another teammate who can do that? Maybe that might be possible. It might be that she goes out wide to this player and then her run takes her inside and that teammate gives that player becomes her again, right? The initial ball carrier passes it to somebody who can give it to a player going forward. That might be you who started the play, if that makes sense. So that's just kind of the way that I've structured it, is making it more task. You do this, like you have this choice, you can do this, you can do this. If you can't do that, then you can do this. If you can do that, then you can do this. And then we kind of start over again every time we give the ball to a new player. So I definitely think that you see it a lot. We just get so jacked up to go forward because we've created space for ourselves and we have options to do it. But sometimes it makes more sense to kind of, hey, we've done as well as we can right here. Let's kind of reorganize ourselves and just keep possession. So, I'll stop babbling and go to the next clip. Similar kind of a situation, all right, defending in their own half. Quickly kind of win the ball. We notice the 9 stays nice and high. Her starting position is really, really good. All right, but I want you to look at this again. So, like, again, if we're looking at things from a perspective, their 9 is, sometimes you see 9s who are way over here and not connected to the game, but the ball's on this side, so she's on this side, all right? Or the 9 drops in here thinking that she's helping defend. The problem is that they don't really need any help defending, but when they win it, they need somebody to find to be a target. So they've done a good job here, all right? So then their 9 does a really good job of staying high and being available. Now, if we look at that, I'll play it one more time. So the question is, there's 2 things that happen here that may influence, and may influence got run together apparently. So that's 2 words. May influence our technical focus in training, our technical focus. So we need to be able to, if we have an idea in our head and we see it, we have to be able to technically execute the idea. So I might want to play a 70-yard diagonal ball across the field like Trent Alexander-Arnold, all right? But if I can't technically execute, it doesn't matter if I can see it really, all right? I have to be able to technically execute it as well. So if we go back, so I want you to think about 2 things that happen here that may influence our technical focus for training. Again, if you want to put it in the chat, by all means do it. But this is something, if you don't want to answer, I get it, no problem. Didn't go back far enough. All right, so there we are going to win the ball there. We go back. Nope, sorry, now we want it. So we play it forward to the 9, which is excellent. I'll just give you 2 seconds to think about it. Again, if you want to put it in the chat, go ahead. Want to show us how super soccer intelligent you are? Go for it. If you just want to internalize it and keep it to yourself, that's fine too. But the things I would say, if you haven't figured it out for yourself, is the idea of this pass that they're going to play. This idea is excellent. Ooh, went too far. First time I've done it. The idea of that pass is excellent. It probably needs to be, well, I shouldn't, I'm taking that probably out. No qualifier. It has to be played more directly. So not as much air under it. You see how it's kind of high in the air. We have to drive it a little bit more. So it's on a line drive more. All right. And it has to arrive quicker. All right. This, because it goes so high in the air and because it's not hit directly to the 9, that it takes longer for it to arrive. All right. That gives her less time and space and more time for the defenders to react, organize, react, recover, and organize. So that's issue number 1. All right, so we might want to work on, hey, we need to play, your coaches tell you, hey, work on your long balls, and you just hit them back and forth. Maybe you have this idea in mind, like if you're a defender or a central player, or you play more towards the back of the team, all right, defender or midfielder, you might be thinking, okay, I'm working on this because I want to be able to find my 9. This is something that happens in the game. I want to be able to put it on a dime, like with pace and power to my 9. So I'm thinking about that instead of just, smashing the ball down to the player who's standing 30 yards away, your teammate who's standing 30 yards away with no real context or reference. Maybe you start imagining some of these scenarios in your head that you're trying to hit that player with the ball to speed up your counterattack. So that's number 1. And then number 2, we see, all right, the ball just bounces. Ay, ay, ay. The ball just bounces here, all right? And again, it takes some time for us to reorganize, or to organize and get going in the attack. Again, it works out fine, no problem. All right, she's done a good job, but could we have done it a little bit quicker? All right, because the ball bounced, she does not have access to this far side of the field. All right, it's allowed the black team to recover enough to seal off one side of the field. If she had received it in the air and been able to turn, she probably faced up directly at this defender, with this defender eliminated quicker. All right, but again, it's not terrible. It's good. It works out. It's just a way that maybe it could have been better. All right, but you see, because they dragged all of the black team's defenders to that one side of the field, all right, they've done a good job of isolating this weak side of the field. All right, they've created a 1v1. All right, so this is really good. Now this comes into key qualities of players. All right, key qualities of players. All right, what kind of an attacking player is on the ball right now? So we're going to make some assumptions, all right, that may or may not be right about this player. All right, if we look at it, again, you can put it in chat or you just kind of think about it. A 1v1's created. Our ultimate goal is to go where? Again, you can answer that for yourself, but we want to go closer to goal. All right, so she's got the option. All right, the defender has. You see her body position? She's trying to show her outside away from goal. All right. So we've done an excellent job here of creating the 1v1. You see this player's got the access to go forward in between these two defenders to make them make a choice if she wants. He doesn't really. This attacking player is waiting to see what the player on the ball is going to do instead of maybe initiating. She could always check back and ask for her feet, but right now she's just waiting. So it might have been a better option for her to just run through and force these defenders to make a decision about tracking her run. All right. So this 1v1, but she's going out wide away from the goal. Now, again, key qualities. On the 04s, I have at least I have one player for sure who I would say every time, if you want to go wide and beat this player around the corner, go for it. Even though it might be a little bit longer, that's one of her special qualities as a player, is to beat the players. We've got some other players who are very, very good at it as well, and I wouldn't say, no, you can't do that. But definitely one player who I would never question her wanting to go around this way, all right? Most players, I would prefer probably to go inside and force this defender to make a decision about covering or marking this player, all right? And it would also allow the player on the ball better access to the goal because it would be at less of an extreme angle, and it would take the touchline out of the equation in terms of defending, all right? So we're not saying right now that her decision right now is wrong, all right? It might be a very, very good one, but again, it's just something to think about for yourself as a player. I'm on the left side. Are you left-footed? Are you comfortable on your left foot? Are you competent on your left foot? Are you going to go out here to try to cut the ball back inside? You're going to set her up and thinking you're going to go around the left, and you're just going to cut back and then go to the inside. That's fair, all right? But again, this area of the field is where we really want to be, all right? So we end up, again, we gain a lot of territory here. It's going to be their throw-in, all right? But they're so much further away from their goal than when we initially won the ball. So again, we flipped the field, we've gained some territorial advantage, and we've put them under some pressure, all right? But just some things there to think about in terms of the attack. And again, coaches might see this differently, all right? So it's a really good idea. Again, like I said, I would see this differently depending on who this player was in the attack. I definitely, some coaches might want, yeah, go.
Hey, Joe, can I? So the reason why that player is actually left-footed.
Yeah.
And she's actually very good with both feet. So every time she gets a chance, I mean, she took her touch betrayed her in the last one. But, I mean, usually she gets around the corner and she's able to score and cross.
Yeah.
So for her, because she's left-footed, we like her to go around. But, yeah, but yeah, I agree with you. If I was mostly a right-footed player, if I was myself, I would have cut in and do something else. But because those are the players' technical abilities and strengths, we ask her to go out wide and run at her anytime she can. And we are so far away from our goal that if she loses the ball, we don't really care.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously
sure.
we care, but the risk is a lot higher than. Sorry, the reward is a lot higher than the risk.
Right. Absolutely. Like, and so for me, and I'll be specific with, like, if this was like a Marissa or a Badger, then I would say I would want them to go. I would say, yeah, go ahead around the outside. If it's some other players, I might want, if it's a Campbell, Campbell's going to combine better with other players. Like, not that you can't play 1v1, but I'm like, well, I want you to put pressure under them. The other thing to think about, so again, that goes, like, it's questions to ask coaches when you're in situations, when you're sitting through a lot of individual meetings now, and maybe you're even looking at some video. These are the kind of specific, like, coach, do you want me to do this? All right. There might not be a blanket answer. All right. It might be individual to individual. It might be situation to situation. So yeah, so it's just really, really, really going to depend on what we want to do. Generally, we're talking generally, yeah, we want to cut inside and go close to goal, but there are definitely situations where we don't mind this player going to the outside. This player in the center, this 9, I can see some coaches maybe wanting her to come inside and seeing if she could combine, all right, with this player, because we talk about actions a lot, but a lot of times it's interactions. So if this player doesn't feel that there's very much support in front of her, all right, or doesn't recognize it, that may or may not be true. Again, I said, if she doesn't feel like that, all right, or she doesn't sense it or see it, it might be there, it might not be there. But if she doesn't feel that, she might feel more obligated. I have to find a way to beat this player 1v1. all right? Whereas if she knows that this player is going to come inside because that's something that your team does, your coach asks for, okay, then she should know that she can combine in here with this 2v1, or are we making it a 2v2 with this defender, all right, because she's come in closer. So, so those are things that you have to ask. Personally, I would want this defender to run between, or this attacker player, rather, to run between both of these defenders to create a choice, and then also give this player more access and ability to go inside, because her run hopefully drags the supporting defender away, creating more space, or the attacking player could still choose to go around to the outside as well. I could see other coaches who might want this player to go away, all right, and run off the back shoulder of this farther central defender. All right, I could see coaches who might want a diagonal run into here, so this player on the ball can just play a pass in behind. All right, there's no right or wrong. So this is why I say there's a lot of variability into how you want to do it. If you look at counterattacking nowadays, it's a little bit more scripted, like with certain patterns that emerge, instead of like, well, let's just take what we think the best option is right now. More and more it becomes about, like, when we are in this situation, when the ball is out wide 1v1 and the 9 is here, the 9 does this, and everybody knows that that's what the 9 does. So yeah, so that's where I talk about variation. So again, if you're doing video with coaches now, or you're doing individual meetings, and you can think about yourself in scenarios like this as a forward, it's really good to kind of talk those things through and ask for it. And if you don't have video yourself, but you can think of situations where it is, like, all you really need to do is go onto YouTube and search or watch a game for a while and see those things that happen, and then just screen record on your phone or your tablet. It's the easiest thing in the world to do, and then it gives you and your coach some sort of actual visual reference to talk about it, rather than it just being words and kind of theory. And maybe you've got one situation that you've created in your head, and your coach has a slightly different one, and you're not quite on the same page in communicating. So anyway, yeah, I'll get off my soapbox there. We'll go to the next clip. So again, now they're defending a little bit higher. They've won the ball. You can see where they've compacted the opponent centrally. They've created this area out wide. You see this player here is immediately getting into the area and attacking. All right. So again, there we can kind of talk about choices and how, you know, your team attacks, or how you might be asked to attack. All right. Some coaches might say, hey, you have this space, go around the outside. All right, you should attack that space harder. All right, you see that there she cuts inside, but she plays a ball into a decent area. Again, if you think about, let me go back a little bit more. Again, for those of you who are on the creating goal scoring chances webinar, and we looked at that assist zone, or that central cross zone, this player gets directly into that central cross zone. All right, and then maybe after that webinar, she would say, hey, I should hit this area right here with the ball. But her intent and idea is really, really good. All right, again, could it be improved? Maybe. Does it make sense to play this ball a little bit deeper into the penalty area to this player? Yeah, it probably does, but the idea is really, really good and just needs refined. So there's not a right or wrong. If your coach asks you to attack the space out wide because it's available, then okay, that's something that you need to prioritize. If you don't think that space is on, then you do need to have some options, a plan B, a plan C. But it might also be that, hey, I know I'm in this central cross zone, and I know my coach wants me to play a back post cross into here. So we kind of have some sort of rules or agreements in counterattacks of what happens. So you see, they just do a good job of pulling the defenders, and because they have to shift, right? We look at the defenders are all here centrally. This pass out wide pulls them apart. All right. I probably could have diagrammed this. So here they break up and they leave this huge gap here to attack. All right. And eventually, I think this is the one where they do score off of it, I believe. Yep. Or no, they create a great chance back post. So they circulate the ball again. All right. And they do score off of that one. All right. So again, good counterattacking play there. And we see some of those principles at play. All right, so defending in the midfield third. Good job to push up. They redirect play. Good anticipation. Doesn't really have a pass forward. All right, doesn't really have a pass forward, so dribbles, no problem there. All right, dribble penetration. Now, she's dragged all of these defenders. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 defenders. All right. Now, again, here's where we can kind of get into what do we want. All right, so she's retained possession of the ball. All right, and she's in a position where she can find a player who can either score a goal, all right, or who is facing forward, all right, to attack. Now, I've highlighted this center for this 9. She's got a lot of different options, all right? There's no right or wrong one. She could go inside here, all right? Let me just let it play here. She could drift off the back shoulder of the defender and go to the back post, or she could cut in front of her and make this run in behind to the near post, all right? Thank you for that drawing. That is fantastic. I'm going to disable your annotations now. I can't remember where the clear the screen one is. Oh, well, I'll do it in a minute. So she could, this would, if she goes inside, it just provides better access for this player out wide here to make a run to the back post. But if she drifts off the back shoulder, it's fine because this player could just drift to another area of the field for sure. But again, it just kind of comes down to what do we want? So we've done a great job of creating this opportunity to attack, all right, and potentially score a goal, all right? And then it just becomes like, how do we want our players to move? What are the expectations for movement of our forwards when we've progressed the ball into this area of the field? Yeah, not a bad cross, but we just didn't quite have players on the same page. Almost, all right, but not quite. But again, another good example of the counterattack. Oh, I can show the name of the annotators? Oh, who's that? Anyway, all right, so let's move on to the next one. One of the other hosts, can you figure out how to do this? Oh, same one.
Hey, Joe, if you click on that annotate at the top there on your screen, the little pen.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. That should pull it up for you if it hasn't. And then you can go to clear and clear all.
Thank you.
Yep.
Too many buttons to push. I appreciate that.
No problem.
All right. Sorry for those. This one might be a little bit hard to see here. We want it here. All right. You see there's no access for the player to dribble. All right. There's no real access to play a penetrating pass to a player. The 9 is here and offering herself. All right. But there's no good lane in there. And that's fine. That happens. So what's her next choice? She simply finds the ball to a player, who is then herself able to go forward. All right, again, we see the 9 here. So we start thinking about the ball is out here with this player's feet. So we've done a good job. Again, we've done a good job of recognizing, hey, we can't go forward. All right, or I can't dribble forward, and I can't play the ball to this 9 who can penetrate in behind, but I can get the ball to my wide player who is able to go forward and potentially find somebody going to goal. So our 9 available, but this player out here, what do we think that player is most likely to do with the ball? I would think most people would probably be saying she's going to be looking to cross the ball if she can. If she crosses the ball, where's that cross most likely to go? All right. The ball is most likely to go into the center. So maybe we would work on this 9 coming in here centrally to be a little bit more available for that cross. All right. But again, a good idea there. We couldn't pass forward, couldn't dribble forward. So we found a player who was able to pass or dribble forward. I think this might be the last one. Win the ball here on the touchline. Again, can't pass forward, can't dribble forward. So we quickly find a player who is available. All right. Centrally. Now, we talked about body position, all right? So you notice I nitpicked this when I looked at this the first time. So she's going to step backward with her right foot here, which is going to have her face her own goal. If she's able to organize herself so that her left foot takes a step back and allows the ball to travel across this way in front of her, she's able to face forward quickly. All right. So is this the end of the world? No, because we actually still end up being able to turn. She's got enough time and space where she can receive and face this way. This player does a really good job of coming to the ball and organizing herself so that she's receiving it facing forward. You see she's going to find that pass there. Again, the 9, trying to find the 9 into this gap in between defenders. All right, nearly comes off. Good idea. Doesn't quite happen, but again, a good counterattack that puts pressure on the defenders and forces them, all right, to defend. All right. So those are the clips. So if you think about it, training priorities 1, 2, and 3. All right, what would your biggest training priorities be if this was your team, all right, that you were playing on, or if you were even the coach of the team? What would you focus on? Your training priorities. So again, if you want to share that in chat, you can. If you just want to share it to yourselves, coaches can ask teams, so you might be ready for it in case your coaches do ask. You want to be smarty pants and just send it to your coach. I'm sure they wouldn't mind that at all. 04 girls, this is what you're doing. All right, this is your summary. What would your 3 training priorities be? Be detailed about what it would be, who you would be involved, why you would choose that, and maybe how or what some of the coaching points that you might include would be. So yeah, so again, if you want to throw that in chat, by all means, go ahead. If not, then you're good to go.